Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Wylam, just to the north of Newcastle once again, to the Wylam Brewery, and we've got a beer here that should be really quite nice, and it's a bit of a beast as well, I would say. So this one is called the Midnight Train to Byker, and it is an Imperial IPA coming in at 10%. It's supposed to be a New England style IPA, this one, and that's one thing I've always said before actually. I've always wondered when you go above sort of 8.5% with these New England style IPAs, you can start to feel the booze in them a little bit because usually they don't have caramel and things like this. So I'm really interested to try this one. The last kind of New England IPAs and the last of the canned beers actually that I've had from Wylam have been really good, and of course they do have the classics like the Jakehead and the Double Jakehead and stuff like that, which have also been really nice. So really looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Wylam Brewery before. I will be doing some more in the near future, no doubt. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Wylam Brewery first off then. So the Wylam Brewery was founded by John Boyle and Robin Layton in the small village of Wylam to the north of Newcastle back in 2000. So these guys have been around for about 18 years now, but both men had taken early retirement. John had been a computer engineer and he met Rob, a former sea captain and also an avid home brewer. So John fixed Rob's PC, which took really quite a long time apparently, and then Robin and John agreed a payment of 5 gallons of the Weiss beer that they'd been drinking for this computer repair. But they both grew really interested in beer because of this. But Robin was really interested in barley wines, stouts and sours, which really weren't very popular at the time generally, and also particularly in the northeast of England, but they wanted to see them introduced back into their local pubs. So they produced their first beer, which was called the Landlord's Choice, back in August of 2000, and this became very popular pretty much through word of mouth. But they moved premises from their first premises to Headon on Wall in 2006, and then in 2016 they moved once again to a new site at the Palace of Arts in Exhibition Park in Newcastle, which is a 30-barrel brew house and also has a brewery, tap and restaurant as well. And it's somewhere that I really do need to go and check out because it looks pretty cracking when you see the photos of it, and you know, it's the Wylam, as I'm saying, do some really good beers, the Jakehead and things like that, and now they've started doing these cans as well, which do seem to be pretty damn good, I have to say. So if you're in the northeast of England, Wylam are a brewery that you definitely want to check out. But there's a lot of good breweries up in the Newcastle area, the likes of Almasty and things like that. There's a lot of good stuff going on in the northeast of England. So good beer scene up here. People are nice. It's a place in England that you should come and have a look at it. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. Let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer. If you want to read any more about Wylam, of course, do follow them on Facebook, or you can check out the brewery website and stuff in the description below. But like I was saying to you, this guy is a 10% IPA. It's supposed to, or Imperial IPA, double IPA, whatever you want to call it, I should say. The hops in this one, it tells you in the back of the can, it's got Citra, Simcoe, it's got Citra, Chinook, Simcoe and Mosaic, and it's also got oats, wheat and rye in the malt base of this one, so that'll be interesting to see how the rye comes out in this. And like I was saying, this is something I'm a little bit unsure about when it comes to the kind of New England style of IPA. I've always felt that, you know, the kind of max that you can push these New England IPAs up to is probably around 8 or 9%. This one's going to be 10, and but of course for me, you can get away with that with the West Coast IPA because the caramel malt that you usually have in those covers up a little bit of the booziness. So I'm interested to see how they've done it with this one, because it is rated quite highly on Rate Beer. I think this one had like a 93 or 94 overall, but then a 73 within the New England IPA style. So I'm just interested to see how it come out. But yeah, nicely presented this one as usual. There you can see the Wylam front on this. You can see some really kind of random stuff there. The clocks, you can see the metro train on the roller coaster track, which is quite interesting as well. And there you can see those kind of northeast type flats as well. But yeah, really nicely presented. This one, it tells you about the profile of the beer on the back as well. 10% IPA. Obviously, they're starting to export over to Scandinavia as well. You're seeing the 1 krona pants. So I need to keep an eye for these beers actually when we go across there. This, of course, is a 440ml can. Many breweries are stealing this from the Americans, which I believe 440 is an American pint, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why they don't just do a ½ litre. That's just me, but they should use the German measurements, I think, because it gives you more beer. But yeah, it might be to do with tax and things like that as well. Actually, it might be to try and keep the cans a sort of certain price due to the alcohol taxes. But yeah, various reasons. It'll be a good beer. That's me just being moany, basically saying I want more. But yeah, as you can see with this one, nice little bit of smoky opening. And it's actually quite light in colour, this one. I was expecting it to be a bit more orangey or something like that. But yeah, looks really, really nice. So yeah, as you can see, it's poured a nice, quite bright orangey yellow, this one I would say. There's a ½ finger of a frothy white head in that. You can smell some of these lovely notes from the citra, the mango, and the sort of lychees and things are coming out of this already. I can smell a little bit of that orangey note from the tangerine as well, from the tangerine note from the mosaic, I should say. But yeah, it looks really nice. But I would say it's fair to describe that one as a kind of nice dark yellow colour. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that where that head should be, but it's faded away to just be a very thin foamy layer that, but I would say it is pretty much perfect white, not even a kind of creamy colour this, but you can, for me it's the citra that's really pushing its way out of this one. It smells really, really nice. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on actually. Yeah. For me it's citra that's definitely coming out of this. That's the most prominent one. But yeah, mango's in there. Definitely. A little bit of passion fruit from the Simcoe as well. But when you take it in a bit more deeply, that's when you get the orangey kind of tangerine notes, mainly tangerine of course, from the mosaic. There's a wee bit of a kind of lychee I think as well coming out from the mango, from the citra. I can't speak today guys. But definitely a little bit of lychee in there as well, maybe some gooseberry I think. But what's surprising about this one is the Chinook. Typically the Chinook will give you a nice kind of dark grapefruity flavour and also a sort of a really kind of dank pine resin. You're not picking that up in the aroma this one. The sort of the kind of grassy sort of floral components that you always get from the hops, for me this one does lean more towards the grassy side of things. It smells like a really quite juicy IPA this. The malt base, definitely you can smell some of the wheat in there. It does have that white bready character, and you can smell almost a little bit of sweetness from the oats as well. And I'm guessing by the head on this one, usually when it comes to really high alcohol beers, or sometimes when it comes to really high alcohol beers, that can kind of stop the head forming a little bit, and I do wonder if that's what's happening with this one a little bit. But it smells really, really quite nice. You can smell a little bit of the graininess from the rye as well, which is quite interesting. But as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in, because that's always half the experience when it comes to sake and whiskey and craft beer and stuff like that. It does smell really nice, this one. So yeah, without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. So this one is the Midnight Train to Byker from the Wylam Brewery, now in Newcastle in the northeast of England. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah. Now that's interesting. What I'll say about this one, okay, you can taste the booze in this, but in fairness, it does actually cover it quite well. And I mean, I was saying this about the West Coast IPAs earlier, that the sort of caramel flavours do tend to help cover the booze a little bit. This one, you know, it does it just in a slightly different way. It's almost like the oats and a little bit of that oaty sweetness are covering it a little bit, which is quite interesting, because I have had, you know, some of these beers that I've had from the likes of Brewski and Helsingborg when I've been over in Sweden and stuff. I've felt with some of their beers, when you're getting towards the 9% kind of mark, that I think is when you're starting to push the edge of what you can do with a New England IPA in terms of alcohol. But in fairness, I did have one from Stigbergets as well, which was a triple IPA. I'm sure that was like 12.5% or something like that, and you really could feel the booze. For me, a triple IPA in the New England style was just a little bit too much. But for me, you know, this might make me think maybe the range is a little bit higher than that kind of 9%, because they've done a nice job of this with covering up that boozy character. Yeah, because I mean, this is juicy enough, and you've got enough of a kind of sweetness a little bit from the sort of wheat and the oaty character in this as well to kind of keep you happy, I would say. But yeah, it's a nice beer that, on the basis of this, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. It's not quite what I expected, actually. I can see why, I'll say straight up as well, I can see why it has that kind of 93 rating as well. And the 73, I guess, within the style might be just because I think the booziness, like I'm saying, the booziness, it does maybe take away a little bit from some of the malty characters. The oatiness, that smoothness is there, but it's not quite, this beer isn't quite as creamy as you'd normally expect from the style. It does lean a little bit more towards the kind of oily side of things. But you know, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing for me is if it tastes good. And it does, I like this one. And I tell you something, you'd only need one or so of these to enjoy the rest of your night. I think that's definitely fair to say. But anyway, with in terms of the flavours out of this one, so you can feel there's that nice kind of white bready character that just blankets the middle of your tongue. There's definitely a nice bit of smooth quality from the oats as well. The oats almost give you that sweetness, and there's maybe a little bit of a biscuity note right down the middle of the tongue as well, which is quite nice. But yeah, the rye notes, there's not really a kind of grainy rye character from this beer in the flavour, which is kind of quite interesting as well. I thought there would have been a little bit more from that. Is it saying, yeah, it just says oats, wheat, rye and hops in this. So I would have expected a little bit more prominence from the rye, although in fairness, when it does kind of progress into the aftertaste a little bit, you can get this almost little bit of grainy quality out of it as well, which it's not quite as sweet as rye. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I'm assuming that will be where it's coming from. But it's really, this beer just is really quite well done. I have to, give them a bit of plaudit for that. They have covered the booze on this one pretty well with that malt base that they've used. So yeah, an interesting perspective on the New England IPA style for me. Back corners of the palate, you've got a little touch of earthiness from the hops. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, there is a little bit of I'm not getting so much in the way of the pine resins. It's quite a dark, almost spicy floral aromatic note that you're getting from this one. And that's surprising because usually the Chinook gives you those kind of quite dank pine resins, but for me it's quite a spicy floral note that's coming out of this one. Round the very front curve of the palate, you have a nice, you've got a nice little bit of grassiness in there as well. And it's amazing for me how juicy this beer is when you consider the booze content that it has. And of course, the kind of complexity of this beer really does come out from that sort of fruit juice side of things. So for me with this one, you can feel a little touch of that grapefruit there. If you just go behind the front curve of the palate, that of course is where that little oily bubble comes out, where you get all of those nice kind of fruity, juicy notes. You can definitely feel there's a little bit of a grapefruity character just underpinning that one. On top of that, you're getting the passion fruit from the Simcoe, I'd say. And you start to get the juicy mangoes and the lighter sort of tangerine flavours as well. And as you progress further and further into the aftertaste, you've seen how long it's been since I took a sip from this one. That's when you start to get the likes of the kind of lychee flavours. You get a little bit of the pineapple actually from the mosaic as well. The mosaic can give you a little bit of pineapple in the aftertaste, and I'm definitely picking that up. I think there's a wee bit of a gooseberry quality coming out of this one too. So the hops that they've used in this are ideal for giving it that bit of complexity, and when it's a big beer like that at 10%, that is what you expect. I'm not sure actually what I paid for this beer, but this was another one that I picked up from the guys at Market Hall Wines in Durham. I just asked them to keep, if they get something like this, just keep it aside for me, and and I'll get it when I come in. So they're always really, really good for that, I have to say. But yeah, it's a really, really nice beer, this one, and I'm glad that I got to try it. I have to say, if you get the chance to try this one, have a go at it. I'm not sure how common this one's going to be. As I've said in a couple of the videos, these canned beers, I'm not sure how regular they are, or if it's a case of they release them, see how popular they are, and maybe make them regulars later. But you know, that's a very, very strong beer, so a big thumbs up to Wylam for that. But a strong beer in more ways than one, you have to say that about it. In terms of recommending this one, you know, if you like the Citra hop, I think you'll really enjoy this one. But then Citra and Simcoe are a kind of classic pairing these days. So if you like beers that have got that pairing in it, you will enjoy this one. And the Mosaic just adds another dimension to it as well. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this beer is mid-bodied. It's at the top end of mid-bodied. It might even be on the lower end of full-bodied, to be honest with you. In terms of the style, the mouthfeel doesn't quite fit it, I would say, because this is a bit more oily. But then again, when it's 10% ABV, you do have to expect that. It does tend to be that the boozier beers are a little bit more oily in their mouthfeel. There's a good bit of hoppy bitterness in this one. I'm not sure of the actual IBUs of this beer, but it does have a good bit of nice hoppy bitterness, so that you can tick that box with it. The malt base, as I say, it's a bit sweeter than you expect. A lot of the boozy warmth that you get from this beer is covered by the kind of oaty flavours that are coming out of it as well, and there's obviously a lot of nice kind of juicy fruity character to the beer as well. So it has everything that you would expect of an Imperial IPA. And as I say, the main thing that I've been surprised with this one is that 10% ABV has kind of been feasible with a New England IPA without destroying a lot of the flavours and things like that. If I had to choose though between a kind of West Coast IPA at 10% and a New England IPA, I may well still stick with the West Coast one, because I do like a little bit of that boozy kind of caramel flavour in there. But in terms of the New England style, they have proved that you can do it, and you can do it pretty well with 10%. So a big thumbs up to Wylam for this one. A lot to think about with this beer, but they have done a pretty bloody good job of it, I would say. So yeah, I think that's a good place to kind of sign off on this one. It's a really nice one, and you should have a go at it. It's got a classic hop blend, I would say, Citra and Simcoe, and Chinook, of course, is a classic hop too. Mosaic is a little bit newer, but they've done a great job of this, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So yeah, check it out for yourselves and see what you think. And try these canned beers from Wylam as well. They're doing some really good stuff with those. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Make sure you check out my social media. Make sure you try some of these beers from the Wylam Brewery as well. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from Wylam Brewery as well, and I'm sure I'll return to these guys in the very near future. And yeah, so once again, thank you for watching. Until the next time, it's Slange just now. This one was the Midnight Train to Byker, a lovely Imperial New England IPA at 10% from Wylam Brewery in Newcastle in England. Slange just now. Make sure you check it out. Cheers.